It's interesting because the raw numbers for Talbot County are very similar to the rest of the state. The whole dynamic of this is changing. We're thinking we're getting our messaging through across the state on the pills themselves. So overdoses with opiate pills are down across the state, and they dropped last year for the first time in many years. The problem right now is fentanyl. For the overdose, the fatal overdose numbers, the fentanyl continues to go through the roof as far as deaths, the overdose deaths there. Fentanyl is an opiate. It's a legitimate, so fentanyl is a legitimate opiate that's used in the medical community. The medical community use it. It would come in the patch form, like maybe at back surgery, you get a fentanyl patch for your back, and it would just disperse, or whatever the proper term is, so much of that opiate into your system. The problem now is it's the illegal fentanyl, it's the illicit fentanyl is being manufactured in China. And we know from DEA and the reports that most of the fentanyl coming in the United States is coming from China through Mexico across the southwest border. And the fentanyl, the illegal fentanyl, is what's really killing people now. I mean, that's present in 80% of our fatal overdoses in Talbot County and the shore in general. It's 50 to 70 times more potent than heroin. And let's face it, we have drug dealers mixing this stuff up. They're mixing it with cocaine. And we've seen that in Talbot County, where we've had fatal overdose of fentanyl cocaine mixtures. In fact, that's one of the highest growth areas there is as far as fatal overdoses increases. One of the greatest increases is cocaine fentanyl mixes. People that use cocaine or use powder cocaine don't think there's fentanyl in it. I think so. I know that still there's a lot of people that their path to addiction goes through a medicine cabinet, or that's one of the steps on the ladder to addiction is the medicine cabinet and the pills in there. So we don't want to take away that. That's still really, really important. Lock up your medicines. Lock up all those prescription opiates, or dispose of them. Bring them here. We'll dispose of them for you. That's really how our young people are getting into. Our kids aren't, and I've said it before, our kids aren't going from marijuana to snorting heroin or shooting heroin. It's the pills in between. Once they do get addicted to the pills, though, and they're looking for that alternative, most of the heroin out on the street today is laced with fentanyl. The cocaine's laced with, a lot of the cocaine's being laced with fentanyl. And that's what's making it so dangerous, with the overdoses. The overdoses for pills themselves, prescription opiate pills, has dropped. The overdoses for heroin has plateaued, but heroin laced with anything laced with fentanyl, it's going straight through the roof. The numbers are going up dramatically. But our overall numbers in 2018 were stabilized. This year we're kind of modifying our message a little bit. We're still talking about that path to addiction, but we really have to include, since our real focus is on our young people, we really have to include vaping in this. We thought we had, we all thought that smoking, we had beaten smoking. That smoking numbers dropped over the years. We educated people about the dangers of smoking, the medical community and everybody else. But now vaping, almost 40% of our high school kids have admitted to vaping at some point. Parents have no idea what many parents have no idea what vaping is.
What is vaping in your mind?
Well, what vaping in my mind is nicotine that is condensed, and you smoke it. It's a vapor that goes into your lungs. And you get that full effect of nicotine, which is even stronger than the cigarettes that are out there. So kids, and it comes in a thing about the size of a flash drive. So parents don't even know what to look for. And these kids vaping, juuling, whatever you want to call it, these aren't kids that smoke. So a lot of the people that smoke are using vaping to try to get out of smoking, adults. Well, most of these kids never even smoked, but they're vaping because they think it's cool. There's no odor. They don't smell like smoke when they come home. And then you can even get cannabis in those pods to smoke, and it's odorless. And we found them in our schools with our SROs, and our SROs are stumbling, and the school system stumbling over this vaping stuff or the Juuls almost daily. And most parents really don't have a grasp of that. So we want to educate about that. We want to educate our parents, educate our kids about the dangers of that this year, because it is part of the path to addiction. We all know that the earlier you use any substance on an adolescent brain, it changes the way the brain reacts. It changes that young brain that later in life they have a greater propensity to become addicted to harder substances. I'm not saying that everybody that vapes uses harder substances. We know that it's not true. We know that people that use marijuana don't always go on to harder substances, but they're always a rung on the ladder for the people who get to the harder substances. My real passion after enforcing the law for 30 plus years is if we can educate people, and we're not going to change everybody, but if we can educate these young people, educate moms and dads to at least know what's out there, know what they're up against, so they can make educated decisions about their kids, then I think we've accomplished our task with Talbot Goes Purple. Keeping them abreast, because let's face it, parents are busy. We had my wife Mary and I, we had 4 kids. We were busy. We couldn't read the articles and follow everything that was going on out there in society. But if we can do that as Talbot Goes Purple and educate parents and kids, so at least when they're confronted with that situation, they know, hey, I've heard this about it, and I've heard this about it, I've learned this about it, and base their judgments and their decisions on that. 4 years ago, they didn't know this stuff, and nobody was educating about this stuff. Nobody was educating about the path to addiction or the pills or the opiates. At least now we're arming our citizens with the information they need, hopefully, to be successful.